I'm from Roscommon Leader Partnership, just to give you an overview of that. It's an organisation that brings together development projects in relation to rural enterprise, development, social inclusion, and we're based here in Roscommon. And all of that work is done to partner with the communities for the betterment of the people of Roscommon. So regardless of whether you are linking in with us as an individual, an enterprise, a farmer, whatever capacity, a community that's in need or a community that's advancing with different things, we are a partner to everybody in the county. Inside Roscommon Leader Partnership, then there's multiple different programs that are able to offer supports to the community. And one of them, and actually our colleague is here on the panel as well for Lockree, Kieran, he's linked in with SICAP there. It's a social inclusion and community activation program. SICAP works in partnership with the communities and individuals to identify and meet their own needs. So a huge thing in relation to Roscommon Leader Partnership, like all of the other stakeholders in the communities, is that our desire is to meet with communities, engage with communities, for them to soundboard off us, tell us what their needs are, but also for us, I suppose, to work as external eyes and fresh eyes on their areas and their communities, and help them identify things that could be advanced and progressed to support their needs. SICAP aims to reduce poverty and promote social inclusion as well. So equality is a huge side of that. And there's huge supports in relation to access to training, employment and education, and then just to develop local community groups. A lot of this is about empowerment, handing that power back to communities and allowing them to be the drivers of the change that they want and that they deserve and that they need. We also have other programs inside the company. One of these is Erasmus Plus. That's a European-based program. So obviously Ireland, along for Roscommon, don't just work inside a national network. We've got a European network as well. This is a program that also supports education, training, youth, and sport in Europe. And it allows us to have that cooperation and mobility throughout Europe, not just in-house here in Roscommon. And again, it allows us as a local development company to tap into European best practice, so that we can look at things that are happening throughout Europe, see how they could benefit and support works that are going on here, our community needs here in Roscommon, and we can harness that and share that training and support with communities. There's access to vocational education and training in there, education across the continuum, all the way from early childhood education up to adult education of all areas. And you can engage today if you go onto the Roscommon Leader Partnership website or engage with our office here. You'll be able to instantly engage with different programs there on a self-learning pace, or actually enroll in programs that are being rolled out. So there's continual education and continual access to information there for a local, national and a European level, which is really, really progressive and supportive. Other programs that are in-house, I suppose, it's part of our name and we'd be really well known for is Leader. And Roscommon Leader Partnership is the implementation partner for the delivery of the Leader program. The last Leader program, or the current Leader program, is currently winding down. And Roscommon Leader Partnership, as a collective, will be engaging with the community across all the communities across Roscommon in relation to consultations in the coming weeks and months. So if you're an individual, a community, a business, an entity of if you're a resident inside Roscommon in any capacity, I'd really implore for you to watch out our social media channels and our website for updates on these consultations. And again, it just offers another way for you to engage. Again, at consultation stages like these stages would emerge in these panel discussions today. This is where you get the opportunity to put your thoughts forward, your requests, your desires, and we can gather all these, collate all these to make sure that we're creating the best policies and programs moving forward, and that we're identifying funding streams, that it's going to where the need is. Along with that, then there's other programs. We've RSS and TOOS, the Rural Social Scheme, and TOOS. These are rural social schemes and income support scheme for farmers and small holdings. This is hugely beneficial because they link in, the RSS link in, and they're a backbone to all of the programs. And that's the real collaborative nature of Roscommon Leader Partnership. Each program has a crossover and marries into the other. TOOS is a labour activation scheme for the long-term unemployed. So these are different schemes that allow people to get a pathway back into employment, pathway back into capacity building and to learning. And then communities benefit from these schemes because people are able to see the rewards that these people's work carry out. I suppose a real clear example of that is through COVID, when TOOS and RSS participants and supervisors weren't active in our communities. We could see that the greens, the communities, just that real clean, fresh look was taken off it. And when lockdown started to subside and communities were able to go out and force again, and these participants and these members of our communities were able to engage and do the work, we could see that community centres were painted, greens were cut, and it just brought that life and that vibrancy back into our communities. So these are a huge, important part of our communities. I myself am I'm the rural recreation officer for Roscommon and Longford. So if you're in Longford or in Roscommon, reach out to RLP looking for me, and I'd be able to engage with you. And I'm involved in delivering of the walk scheme here in County Roscommon, and anything to do with outdoor recreation in any nature. We offer supports looking at funding streams. Communities that maybe don't know what's viable or what opportunities they have on the ground, we help them to develop ideas. And also some communities, like has been mentioned today, have wheels in motion on projects, or they know that they have golden nuggets, and we help to animate these projects and guide them into funding opportunities. And I suppose on a personal level, I come from Balmoral, the west coast of Ireland, and we were very much a similar kind of a prospect. Bellacora Power Station was built there in the 1950s. It was decommissioned, I think, in 2005. We were a society there, a community that had very much our identity based around working with Bord na Móna. We were a Bord na Móna region. We had that love of the bogs and everything that came with that. And I suppose to kind of offer that confidence to everybody that will be listening in today, is I've seen that our identity has transformed. While we didn't lose our identity, it definitely transitioned. These bogs are now home to walking trails, home to renewable energy sources such as windmill farms, all of these different things. There's our Bord na Móna villages, our housing estates that would have housed Bord na Móna employees have been regenerated into Airbnb and low carbon accommodation. So all of the things I suppose that we thought we were losing when Bord na Móna was decommissioned in our area, we were able to work with different stakeholders, reimagine our identity and re-engage all of the resources we had, not just in a sustainable way, but a regenerative way, which actually we were building on. Instead of trying to get back our identity, we found it in different ways and actually drove it forward. So while it can seem like a negative outlook when we are stuck in the transition phase, there's huge funding opportunities out there, loads of stakeholders like Roscommon Leader Partnership and all these different groups that are here today that are willing to engage and ready to engage. So if you're on the call, if you're watching this as a recording, I suppose that'd be my call to you, is to reach out, get involved. Don't sit at home with an idea. Every voice counts, and together it's going to be a really, really exciting journey to see what the Emerge program and other programs are going to be able to bring to the area. So I hope you get something from this, and I look forward to be part of the journey with you. And I'll leave it for that. You have the WDC there that you can go to look for. If you're, I suppose, projects of scale that require a large amount of match funding, but again, there's no such thing as free money. So there's the whole basis of how you're going to approach that, how much money you can take, what your project type is, and is there a basis for you to actually service your debt moving forward as a community? And is the way off of that debt with the community, meaning that the delivery of the project is actually a progress or a regress in nature there. So those are huge things to look at. I suppose one of the biggest things I would say to community groups and individuals, again, regardless of whether it's an social enterprise, whether it's an actual a business entity itself, is the engagement and having those very clear, open discussions with development officers or whoever you're linking in with. Because from my own experience on the ground, I might have engaged with communities who might be looking to deliver a very aspirational project that could have a very substantial match funding requirement. Like Tristan done there, some of these groups have been able to have different things, be very, I suppose, progressive. They have people in these committees that are able to action different things like the sale of calendars, organising fundraising, different events. You have other communities that don't have that capacity of time or manpower or just the knowledge base to be able to engage in this. They're very fresh, they're new to it, and they don't have these things. So you really have to work with them to show, okay, this might be your end goal, but I suppose, can we take a first step? Is there a first step that's manageable with maybe a lower match funding requirement? And see, is it something that you can engage with, get delivered, and can we use this as a tangible project to showcase for other funding, to see that you have the capacity to deliver. And there is, I suppose, bases out there. There is little fund in nature initiatives for community sites that may not require match funding. So don't look at every project as a necessity for match funding. Really look through the intricacies of what the requirements are. But again, I suppose it's to really take that time to assess. You need to make sure the steps you're taking, if it's manageable now, is it manageable at the delivery point in the future? And don't be afraid to ask questions and just double check everything. But it is problematic. There's great ideas out there, great desire from communities to drive on, but it becomes a bear trap that they just get stuck on and they don't know where to go with. So the capacity building and future projects, I suppose, which trying to resolve that would be hugely beneficial. By nature, I think it's if we have experts internally, it can be the case of why do we need to look externally? And I suppose the first thing I advise to that is I'd never be afraid of the opportunity to try and go on look externally. I suppose fresh eyes is always a great way to move on anything. There's opportunities and possible pathways that we might not be able to observe. That might be obscured with the way we're looking at it. Then outside of that, if it's a case of trying to access it, again, it comes back to the elephant in the room that a lot of these external entities are going to be a funding requirement. They're going to require money, and then it's a case of we need to actually get this expertise in, get the overview, and get the feedback off these before we can actually move forward with the main funding aspect. So it is, again, can be a limiting factor for a lot of brilliant projects socially and enterprise ones. But again, it's back to reaching out to different groups and different stakeholders. I know there's different funding opportunities that we have with Roscommon Leader Partnership with different programs, and I know that that's been able to look again at as another stage. Looking at that as an additional stage, maybe a primary stage, maybe a stage that wasn't accounted for, but funding can be looked at it there. But I would definitely it's going to be a necessity, and these things are needed. And I suppose one thing that I would say to communities when they are looking for money, and it's a thing that I never thought I'd have to say to communities, is when you get funding awarded, it's congratulations, you've got funding awarded. That's good news. The bad news is you've got funding awarded, so you now have a huge responsibility around that funding. And it's to ensure that you've got your due diligence done and that you have ticked all the boxes, because one of the last things that I ever want with a community group is for them to get finance in-house, get a project delivered, and to leave a stone unturned that could mean that an audit at a later date, which is always a high potential case, could deem that all due diligence wasn't taken, and that you may have to forego and look at paying back. So while it might be painful, these are necessity steps. Always take them. And again, it's just, again, the funding allocations to be able to get that to pay for this expertise is, again, something that needs to be looked at and that obstacle removed. I think, in short, you need to be at the table if you want to eat. I know it's a very blasé statement, but get involved. Kieran said it about engagement. Again, I go back to my own home community, 2005, when that got decommissioned, how that impacted. But there's a way forward. There's money here now. I know there's feasibility studies. There's a lot of different things that has to be seen if they're going to be delivered on. But each and everybody, again, it's back to everybody putting themselves forward, having a voice in it. And there's huge possibility here. We can look at it again, glass full, glass half empty, but it's possibilities that we're looking at now. And I think that if everybody can get in together, there's differences in every community, never mind a family. Them differences can be brought forward and actually cultivated into great things. So I think put yourself at the table and stay the course. It's not easy. There's a lot of no's and there's a lot of disappointment. But I think if you put yourself at the table, stay at it, it's a worthwhile journey.